And our final coach this morning is the head coach of the preseason Big South favorite, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and head coach Joe Moglia. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning, Mark.
Hope you're doing well. If you can open up and talk about how your preseason camp went, and then give us your thoughts on Week 1 opponent, South Carolina State. We'll take questions.
I think with regard to preseason camp, I thought we had a pretty good year a year ago offensively, and I think we've got a reasonable amount of people back. We've got a new quarterback we have a new guy at quarterback with Alex Ross, but he saw some playing time a year ago and wound up doing well. I think he will fit in just fine as far as providing leadership and understanding what we're trying to do as far as our offense goes. From a defensive perspective, we were pretty inconsistent a year ago. We had a number of breakdowns. We made a lot of changes. We don't quite have those down yet, so we're not quite as consistent as hopefully we'd like to be. But I think we've got a pretty good base, and hopefully the defense continues to improve throughout the span of the season. And I think from a special teams perspective, I think we're probably a little bit ahead of where we were a year ago. And again, we're looking for a little bit more consistency there, and then hopefully a couple big plays. With regards to South Carolina State, they've had 11 of 12 winning seasons over the span of the last 12 years, and the one losing season was a year ago where they were 5-6. A couple of games easily could have gone either way. They could have had 12 winning seasons in a row. They have 17 of 22 starters back. You know, on defense, they have an even look, but they show you, but they wind up doing multiple things out of that. Offensively, they run a multiple pro. Read zone option, big screen game, big downfield passing game, attack. They've got their quarterback back from a year ago who was both not just a pretty effective passer for them, but was also the leading rusher. They've got a guy behind him that's really very good and might actually even beat him out. And they've got guys that can break the game open with regard to special teams. So we've got to make sure we have a good week of practice, and we've got to make sure we're ready to go come Saturday. And we're not quite ready yet, but hopefully we'll be ready to go by Saturday.
All right, thank you, Coach. And this time we'll take questions for Coastal Carolina head coach Joe Moglia. To ask a question, please press *1 on your phone at any time, or click the Q&A link button near the top of your browser and click Raise Hand if you joined us via the web. Questions for Coastal Carolina head coach Joe Moglia. And Coach, first questions for you is from Lane Harris of the Chanticleer Sports Network.
Hey, Lane. Good morning. Good morning.
Saw you last night at your call-in show, and didn't get a chance to hear all of that. But looking forward to this season with the Chanticleers. Defensively, we had some inconsistencies last year. What do you feel has been the difference this year to kind of step up our potential performance on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I think number one, we changed a lot of our defense. So there were a lot of things where I think we had errors last year. Some of those were mental errors, but some of that was because perhaps we tried to do too many different things. There were too many checks, and what that created were too many individual breakdowns. And you can't afford to play against the teams that we're playing against and have too many of those breakdowns. So we changed. We're still operating out of an even front, but we will show more odd front than what we did a year ago. We're going to show a little bit more pattern reading than we did a year ago, and we're going to mix up basic man and zone. But what we've really done is simplify our system, and hopefully that minimizes the amount of mistakes that we make, and hopefully that cuts down significantly on the big plays that we gave up.
Coach, let's switch over to the offensive side of the ball. Alex Ross, your redshirt sophomore quarterback. A lot of folks in the Big South, outside of Gardner-Webb, have not really had a chance to see him perform on the field this year. Well, I know David Bennett and staff recruited him, and they were really, really high on this young man. And you've literally had him drop right in your lap. What makes Alex Ross such a great quarterback?
Well, I think number one, he has a real understanding of the game. Football coaching is in his family. He's got a real understanding of the game, and he's very, very much a good leader. This is also going to be, remember, he, as good a year as Aramis Hillary, our quarterback from a year ago, had, both Alex and Aramis were exposed to our offense at the same time. So coming into the season, while Alex is younger than Aramis and doesn't have quite on-the-game experience, he actually has more time in our offense than what Aramis ever did. So now he's got one season and 2 springs, and he certainly was the backup last year, and he did see some playing time, and he certainly got, his fair share of snaps a year ago. And I think all of those things, coupled with his leadership ability, will make him a very, very, very solid person for that job for us.
How do you feel about this season with not only Alex having a little more time in the offense, but also all the players on your team now having a full season under their belt, getting used to the coaches, getting used to the system? It's got to have you pretty excited about this season.
Well, there's a concept, that they use in the investment world called compounding, where, frankly, if you can invest your money at 7% over a period of 10 years, you double your money. In the world of research, cancer research, medical research, you don't just all of a sudden find a cure for polio. That information and the quest to be able to defeat a certain disease, the knowledge compounds over time. It's the same thing in football. It's the same thing in terms of learning. The fact that our guys have had, again, 2 springs and a year under their belt with a very, very similar offense allows them to compound their knowledge. So by definition, they are going. If we didn't do anything as a coaching staff, they would be further ahead in the game today than where they would have been a year ago, where they only had a spring under their belt. So all of that compounding impact is what matters there, and it's a critical part of learning, and that takes place when you understand, frankly, the process that you're going through, and how important it is to be able to build upon the knowledge base that already exists.
A lot of Chanticleer fans really excited about this season, as I am as well. We'll see you in the Berg on Saturday, Coach.
Thanks very much, Lane. Appreciate it.
Well,
thank you, Lane. And I know there's still a couple questions that will be coming in for you, Coach. I got one for you. Could touch on how this year, going into year 2, and preseason camp and all the prep work was different than obviously last year with the new regime. But then coupled with that, going into this year as the preseason favorite, how did that how did you have to work that into your preparations with your team?
One of the things, Mark, we talked about a year ago, and we feel very strongly about this, we talked about a mission. And our mission was it wasn't to win a national championship, it wasn't to win a league, it wasn't to do any of those things. It was to put a team on the field that the entire community of Coastal will be proud of. Now, we know that means over time you've got to win, but it also means you never take the field without giving it everything you've got every snap. On the philosophy side, while we certainly have our NCAA rules and our university rules that we all have to abide by, we don't have a whole lot of rules. It's a matter of one standard, and that is we expect our guys to stand on their own 2 feet and accept responsibility for themselves, in effect, be men, and a man's got to live with the consequence of his actions. So as we prepare for a season, it's about going through the process. It's about understanding your role and how the whole effort is to get to the point that when you're actually on the game field, you have a real understanding of what you're doing. You don't panic, you're disciplined, you understand what's going on, and you execute. And if you can put together a sound game plan associated with that, what you're doing is you're increasing the probability that your guys are going to live up to their potential. But they're prepared to do that. It's not a matter of who you're playing against. It's not a matter of the weather. It's not a matter of any of those things. It's a matter of the type of preparation that you put in along the way. So, for us, that philosophy, we call it BAM, be a man, and the mission, make sure Coastal Carolina is proud of you. That's a lot to live up to. And while we're certainly flattered about the preseason picks, that's not going to affect anybody we play against their preparation. It's not going to affect our preparation, and it's not going to affect the outcome of one game. So we got to go back to what our standard is, and that's our total focus anyway. So we got to live up to that standard, which isn't an easy standard to live up to. If we do that, then everything else will fall into place.
Thank you, Coach. And don't forget to ask a question. Please press *1 on your phone at any time, or click the Q&A link near the top of your browser and click raise hand if you join us via the web. Final questions for Coastal Carolina head coach Joe Moglia.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, Coach. Hi. This is Thomas Graham from the Johnson Democrat. Talking about this game, and you talked about all the preseason expectations. Just from a non-conference standpoint, how important is this game for Coastal?
Well, every game is an important game, and the only game anybody's focused on is the game that they get preparing for. I've got a lot of respect for Buddy Pugh and the program he's put together. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for the athletes that he's got. Again, you have a pretty incredible record when you've gone 12 years in a row and you've only had one losing season, and that was 5-6, and that could just as easily have been 7-4. You've got South Carolina State's got 17 of 22 starters back. You know, they're effective moving the ball. They have enough good players they've got 9 starters back on defense, and they can hurt you with their special teams. I mean, that's and it's opening day. It's an away game. I mean, that's a pretty critical game for us, just as it's a critical game for them. So right now, that's the most important priority we've got in our preparation this week, and it's the most important game right now we've got on our schedule. So it's pretty important.
Coach, what's sort of the biggest concern defensively that South Carolina State presents?
I think their experience. I think they've got good active linebackers. They've got good physical, athletic defensive linemen, and they've got guys in the secondary that are experienced and can get to the ball. Anytime you bring it back, the 9 of 11 starters is much more than we have coming back on defense, and you learn more than anything from your mistakes. So to simply have a year under your belt with the entire unit together like that, I think is a significant advantage. I mean, our offense has to make sure that we take care of business if we're going to be effective moving the ball.
And Coach, finally, talking about one of your players, it's sort of almost a homecoming for him, your defensive lineman, Jeffrey Sally. Just talk about the improvement you've seen in him and just how critical is he to your defense?
Jeff is our best defensive lineman. And, you know, the fact that he's going home for this game, I know that's going to be a little bit of incremental motivation for him. But, again, that doesn't matter. He's got to do the same type of job, whether we're going to South Carolina State or we're playing the game in Moscow. It shouldn't matter. But it's home. He's going to see family. He's going to see friends. He's going to do all those things. He's done a great job for us. This is going to be his 3rd year as a starter. And he's one of the smallest guys we have on the team. But he's also one of the hardest working. He's a good athlete. He's strong. He's got a good low center of gravity, and he's quick. So he'll be ready to go. I have no doubt. He's a critical part of our overall defense.
Thank you, Coach.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Hey, Coach, that's all the questions we have for you, so we'll let you go. Thanks for joining us, and good luck Saturday at South Carolina State.
Thanks very much, Mark. Take care.
Thank you. We'll talk to you next week. And that will conclude this week's Big South Football Coaches Teleconference. My thanks to all the coaches and media joining us today. As I mentioned, the recording of the call will be available for playback later this afternoon on BigSouthSports.com. Other than that, everyone else have a great week, and we'll talk to everyone next Tuesday. Thank you.